When I first got into self-improvement, for a really long time, I was still thinking that I have to be positive all the time. They tell you to be positive, to think positive, and don't allow any other thoughts. And this is something that really stressed me because it is so unrealistic for us humans to constantly be positive only. What it resulted to was that I felt super anxious about feeling the wrong way ever, about being surrounded by people that would think negative because it could affect my energy. So I was constantly having this shield on me, and whenever people would say something negative or they would use the word hate, which I had a great reaction to, I would say, don't do that, don't hate, don't do this. And I was basically not allowing a part of myself, and that was totally the wrong approach for me.
You are basically bullying yourself with positive thinking. And that's what we are doing lately.
So funny.
That's what we are doing in this planet. We think that we are in a spirituality and with a positive thinking, and we are gonna have it all right now because we will manifest with a positive emotion, with our open heart. And then we feel so bad when we are not actually making it happen. We sometimes say something wrong and we think we have bad thoughts, and we say something bad about other people, and we immediately punish ourselves with this because, we did something wrong, and we become more anxious than before we started to be on a self-development path. So don't bully yourself
Absolutely
with these
true.
positive thoughts, and don't bully everybody around you because you just came from workshop, you just came from some retreat, and now you're full of this amazing energy, and everybody has to immediately adapt to your energy, and that's how it's going to be everybody accepted. Otherwise the person is going to be judged, and otherwise no way you're going to talk to them anymore. And then life happens, right? And life teaches us some lessons.
It's very natural, when you finally feel a little bit more positive, that you want to protect yourself, and you know that people around you are just going to be themselves, and you get scared that it could affect you negatively as well, and it often does.
And you were told at the retreats and everywhere that it's gonna affect you, so you're even more anxious about it, right?
Petra and me are reading this book, this mystic novel, and there was this religious group, they called themselves the Lambs. And they would gather together and they would speak about God and about being without sins and doing the right thing and being on God's path. And they were very religious about it. It was like a cult.
And there were two people who lived together, woman and a man, in one household, and they've never touched each other. They didn't have beds connected to each other. They slept on the opposite sides of the room, and only how they were touching each other were through the mind, through the thoughts, and they were thinking that they live in a pristine, clear realm. Or I don't know.
That they're pure, because they don't touch, they don't kiss, they don't have sex.
They don't wash.
And they were like the leaders of this cult. Mm-hmm. And once they were invited by the queen for a great feast, and there was this group of religious people, and there were some other groups of religious people as well were invited. And as soon as the feast started, they would just smash their faces with the food, and they would be super quick because they know that they would start to feel really guilty about themselves doing it. So they did it really fast, and then later they started to look around and they started to judge other people and condemn them for the way they are eating and how they're not pure. And
because they sometimes didn't even eat meat in those religions, and there they were absolutely stuffing their faces with meat, right?
And they were almost trying to hide it in front of themselves, but then when it was over, they would just judge each other. It was described in this book that they were walking a path, on a very narrow path, over the gorge of hell, trying to get across without any detours, and they all fell at the end. They had miserable ways how they left their bodies in the end. But it just shows that there is not really a shortcut to experience, to grow in this lifetime. We think we can jump over it and go directly to heaven and directly be, saints, but we have to go through all different stages. And for us, how it translates into life is that we need to accept all parts of ourselves.
We just have to not reject the negative parts of ourselves, the poopy sides of ourselves, the stinky sides of ourselves. We have to also accept that this is also part of us. There are not only beautiful, happy thoughts, but there's also these other thoughts. And the more we can love, the more we can also go very, very deep. And that's, if we remember that, if we feel, for example, very low right now, it is just saying to you, hey, you have very big ability, much greater than you think, to feel also very, very high.
Because you might have also had these thoughts like I did, that if I only be ever positive, only just reject all the negative thoughts, I can be truly happy and fulfilled and whole and worthy to receive abundance. We think we are making a shortcut, but we are actually taking a detour, because the way around these negative thoughts, trying to avoid it, trying to not look at them and trying to pretend they're not there, is actually a huge detour. It is much better, I found for me later, that I accept them, I go through them, I allow them to be felt in my body. I don't necessarily need to express it outwards, but I can feel it, allow the emotion, and I no longer have to run from myself, no longer have to run from my own shadows. Dr. Joe Dispenza keeps saying something that I start to understand more and more. He says we are not punished for our sins, we are punished by our sins. And if you think about this for a moment, it is not that we do something bad and then we are being punished by God or by the devil. It is we are doing something that we think is bad, a sin, and we punish ourselves. And so the sin, doing something bad per se, means that we are bad, we are evil, we are dark, and we punish ourselves by the state of being.
One example for all: alcohol and drinking alcohol. When I was a child, I couldn't drink alcohol, of course, and then my parents, when I was growing up, said, okay, so have a wine, have a beer, when I was the appropriate age. And I was having a free space around it, I could have as much as I could, and they were telling me that it's always available there if you want to have some wine with food or something. I never restricted me on alcohol. I always knew I can have as much as I want, but I actually realized that I don't even need it. I don't like it. I don't have to drink alcohol at all. And if I would be restricting me like I was restricting me from eating chocolate, and I was very, very addicted to chocolate because I said it's not good for me, I'm gaining weight and I'm feeling not good, and I didn't want to eat chocolate, guess what I did? In a moment when I wasn't unguarded and I was waiting for that moment when my mind was a little bit running wild for 5 minutes, and then I ate the whole chocolate, like women have it, and then they punish themselves for it, and then they wait for another moment of this mind opening,
That's such a good example. Do you see what she just said? She was trying to avoid it. She was trying to stay away from it, and the more she tried to stay away from it, the more she went directly into it. She ate the chocolate. I had the same with potato chips.
Because you think about it all the time.
I wasn't allowed as a child to eat potato chips, so I would do it in secret, in hiding, at home when I was alone, or I do it as an adult just excessively, and it doesn't make me feel good. I was not allowed, so I was going into it even more. So if we're trying to avoid our negative emotions and negative thoughts, we're going to experiencing them even more.
Of course, in some way you have to nourish it, and in some way you can't nourish something, so you have to look into what's beyond that. But I'm just talking about that the more you push things away, the more you say, I don't want to eat this, I don't want to eat chips, I don't want to eat chocolate. You will think about, I don't want to eat chocolate. You're not thinking, I want to eat broccoli. You're not saying this to yourself. I don't want to eat more apples, for example. You would think only about apples, but this way I don't want to talk badly. I don't want to judge. What you're doing, you're judging all the time.
So we have learned that it is not the right way if you're trying to avoid something. It is better to go through it. And a really practical way to do it for me is that when I see these thoughts coming up, when I see these emotions coming up, and I can recognize them, I almost allow it to have space as much as it wants in my body. I allow it to expand as much as it wants, and I breathe. I don't contract, I breathe and I allow. And that allows the emotion to just flow right through you. And then you can open up for something positive, something that uplifts you.
And I do it a little bit differently. Usually, if I'm talking about that chocolate or about the alcohol or about other things, emotional, I always reconnect to my body and feel how my body feels. Because I am the one like throwing it down the throat and throwing, right? But I am the one who doing it, the mind. But is the body feeling good? Is the body feeling good when I am actually trying to be pristine, clear, pure person? Or is it better and more relaxed when I say something negative and I let it out? Maybe it's a bit healthier to just express it quickly, forget about it, and just go on with your life. Just not carry it all the time.